welcome to The Better View. I'm your host, Tracy Belmonte, and as you can see, we're having a special episode. It's my personal salute to toxic masculinity. It's sort of like, yeah, woohoo, toxic males tonight. I love it. And, you know, it's sort of like a Your Voice America reunion. I miss these guys. I miss working with them. And by the way, you know, everybody that left Your Voice America, we still go back from time to time and work with Bill. We love Bill. So if anybody's got beef with Bill, they have their own agenda. Trust me, there's no drama there. But anyway, let's get to it. Let's introduce my special guests. First up, where in the world are you, Joey Mannarino? Because I don't even know where you are.
I'm always somewhere else. I'm in Philadelphia.
Oh, that's so boring. Like I expected like Abu Dhabi or something.
Maybe soon. Well, we'll see. But Philadelphia, and that's what it is today. So,
well, Joey, you and I are going to carry the last half of the show. Obviously, you're going to be a big part of the first half.
Yes.
But joining us today for a very special appearance, because boy, oh boy, he's got some story to tell, is the one and only, the better half, or no, I should say,
lesser half.
Yeah, the lesser half. That's it. Thank you. I didn't think of it. But Rihanna Dilley, we got Brenden Dilley. Brenden, thanks for coming on.
Hey, how you doing, Tracy? Thank you for having me. This is so appropriate for Men's Appreciation Day with our toxic masculinity to come on what is traditionally an all-women show. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you can be here with us. And I have to know, I know that my dad had surgery this morning, so I was up at the butt crack of dawn, and you were up at the butt crack of dawn. And yeah, I mean, because you're like 3 hours behind me.
Yeah.
So it was like 5 a.m. for you. And you found out that your Twitter account got suspended today, like permanently suspended, like really no warning. What happened?
Again. No, yeah, this is the second one in 10 months. The first one they got 10 months ago was for a pro-Second Amendment tweet, literally just stating that the Second Amendment was a non-negotiable, it wasn't going anywhere. These tweets were actually more benign than the previous ones, which were, I sent out statistics relating to the transgender community and suicide, and I was advocating for getting those communities the help they need because the numbers don't lie. The statistics are there. You have almost 50% suicide rate. Extremely high among adolescents 18 and under in that community. And I had sent out 2 tweets, weeks ago stating that this was a very real epidemic, that these people need as much help as they can get, and they need to be, taken care of and looked out after. And they suspended my account. Obviously the trolls got on it, reported the tweets, but why they suspended it was interesting, which was they called it threatening violence against a group of people, which was really fascinating because it was literally the opposite. I was advocating for helping a particular group of people that's been marginalized, and they said it was threatening violence and harassment against a particular group of people. So very weird. They deleted my account, but they can't delete me. I'm a person. I'm alive. I'm not a troll or a bot account. And so here we are. We're still rolling. I got 2 new Twitter accounts, and that'll be that.
Oh, wow. I want to thank Deanna, Lorraine, for joining us. That's all right. Better, it's better late than ugly. And you look gorgeous.
Yeah.
Your hair looks
thank you. Yeah. Some issues with my Zoom and stuff. It just started rebooting it without my knowledge. So sorry about that.
That's okay. And, you came in the best part. This is our salute to toxic masculinity. And we're talking about how Brenden got suspended from Twitter today for writing a factually accurate tweet about, transgender people, and which you're 100% right, Brenden. The Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Disorders lists identity disorder as part of borderline personality disorder and its own standing disorder. So you're 100% right. And I really believe that there is an algorithm that when you write the word tranny or transgender, it automatically gets reviewed. And since you're conservative, they're going to take you right off. And I know that, Joey, you've also had problems with Twitter and your account, and you've been suspended a number of times as well.
Oh, yeah. I think at least 8 or 9 times. And I just keep coming back. And this time I've lasted a long time somehow, like a long time. Too much.
Flying under the radar, probably because you're back in America.
Who knows? But all I know is what I saw Brenden put out the other day that got suspended. That was nothing. I mean, that was nothing, especially if you look at the rest of your account. It's like, of all the things you tweeted, it's like that is the least controversial. But like Tracy said, and Twitter has changed their terms of service. Now there's something even against dead naming, which is when you call, apparently it would be if I called Caitlyn Jenner Bruce, they call it dead naming. So they have a whole transgender policy now on Twitter where you cannot offend or say anything. So the best thing, I guess, is to just put TR*NS if you want to talk about it anymore. There's nothing to talk about it. It's like very minuscule topic.
Well, Joey, what they're doing too, though, is like they almost make it to where, like, I was calling to action the spotlight that they were asking for, which was this particular group has been marginalized, and as a result, in addition to whatever potential mental illness may be present, it's resulted in a 50% suicide rate. So here I am giving them oxygen by talking about it and saying, look, this is a very big epidemic in this community, and I was suspended. And so you know what my solution is? You want to be marginalized? I'll pretend you don't exist. Now you not only do you not exist, you don't kill yourselves, I don't notice it, I'm not going to talk about it. I've had many people in that community direct message me for advice over the last 5 years of being an author. I have walked more than a few people in that community and the LGBTQ community as a whole off the ledge from suicide. I used to do this all day long, 24/7. And so it's sad because they literally are marginalizing themselves by not even allowing us to discuss a very open and real statistic in that community. And the only reason that those tweets went out was that it was within the context of that day's discussion, which was those tweets were a response, I believe, to Chelsea, or what's the name? The woman that
Chelsea Manning.
Yes.
Yeah, Chelsea Manning. And I was mentioning it because Chelsea Manning had attempted suicide and then came out and was talking about law enforcement being below something else, and it was slandering law enforcement on Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And my response to that was bringing attention to, hey, this community is not whole. They're not okay on general. 50% suicide rate, and bam, suspension. So now you are marginalized. Now you don't exist, at least in my world. I can't talk about you, even if it's in a good way or a positive way or an advocacy way, because it's not safe, because I'm a white male American that is talking about it.
Yeah, there's and I'm going to get Deanna involved in this next piece. There was a Pew study that was conducted, and 7 out of 10 Americans, so about 70% of Americans, believe that these big tech companies are actively censoring political views that they do not agree with. So the majority of Americans see a problem, and they also agree that hate speech should be monitored. But the problem is, Twitter, Facebook, all of these companies have decided and rewritten the rule book on what is hate speech. Because to me, I get made fun of from my appearance every day. We all know I'm smoking hot. But, I have my trolls, and I'm like, oh, get some more Botox in your lips. And I always like to say, if you got Botox in your lips, they would be paralyzed because it's a toxin that paralyzes muscles. But whatever. They have no idea what they're talking about. But that's okay. I got a penis picture that was unsolicited in my Facebook inbox, and I reported it. And that did not violate Facebook's terms of service. I've gotten made fun of on multiple platforms. That, to me, is hate speech. Ilhan Omar, what she says about Israel, that to me is hate speech. But you pointing out a statistical fact is not hate speech. Deanna, have you ever had this censorship on social media? Have you ever dealt with that, gotten a suspension at all?
Yeah, absolutely. I get censorship a lot. And it's disgusting because, they find people that speak the truth, that speak out against the narrative, a threat. Right? Like even my video that I released right before midterms about, women supporting men, right? And standing up to this negative leftist narrative of men are guilty until proven innocent, and that men should vote red if they don't want their voice to be dead, right? Now that is very, very interesting because I have it pinned to my Twitter, and each night Twitter goes and unretweets hundreds of people that have retweeted it already. And it removes views. It's been stuck on something like 5,000 views for weeks now. And I know for a fact, because people will say, I've had to retweet your video about a dozen different times because the retweet thing is off. It's ridiculous. On my YouTube channel, I've talked about child trafficking before. Guess what? One time I talked about child trafficking, the next night I got removed 3,000 views. How do you unview something, right? Unview 3,000. I lost about 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers overnight. And then my video stopped getting monetized after that. So I just find it, and of course I'm shadow banned. I'm sure that you are too.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's just disgusting, and I can't believe people would be okay with this nanny supervised state where they're treating us like infants who can't make up our own mind, who need to be protected and told, oh, this might be triggering, this might be hate speech, you might be offended by this. I want to make up my own mind about what I want to see and not see, and not have some filter that someone up above that wants to control us put out for us. It's disgusting, and I want to do something about it. I just don't know what can be done.
And you're right. I mean, the First Amendment is really for the speech that you disagree with the most. Right. Truly.
I want to disagree with things. Show me everything, though, but don't cherry pick and hand select certain things. And, you know, I find it very offensive, actually, that they're infantizing us, right? Young people, I don't know how anyone would be okay with them hand selecting. Oh, you know, you're too sensitive for this. Oh, you might not be able to make your mind up about this. Right. It's really disgusting, and it's really offensive.
Well,
yeah. Go ahead,
one thing I was going to mention to you guys, too, is I have a contact that he's actually, fingers crossed, God willing, he's a contractor. He's currently one of the bids that the DOD is considering for the wall. Okay, so his design is one of the ones being considered. Good guy. All right, let me just tell you guys a little background on Twitter and some of what you're seeing. Okay. Twitter was not an organic creation out of Silicon Valley. The dead giveaway, and this gentleman has worked in that world for quite some time, worked in tech. In the late 80s, 90s, early 90s, he was one of the first people that was introducing computer text. Before we were doing it from our phones, it was the idea of texting from one computer to another, communicating via chat. Okay. And originally it was a federal government project, and the dead giveaway of where Twitter was originated is this, and it's something that most people wouldn't realize. The federal government, the feds, were the ones that told him back in the late 80s, early 90s, during this developmental phase on computer-to-computer messaging systems, was our cap is 140 characters, okay? This became the standard within the government of any communicative chat stuff. It was 140 character limits. And as all of you, I'm sure, remember, Twitter originally founded under 140 character limit up until, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they finally expanded it to 280. But this gentleman told me that he was aware because he was working with the FAA and what was the other one? It was like some national security agency. I don't remember which one. And this was one of the parameters of their chat-based services, was it had to be 140 character limits per message. And then that got shut down, and he wasn't sure. He said, I don't know. He goes, I left mid-90s, and whoever took it over, I don't know if it was a DARPA project or something else, but then eventually it becomes this, oh, wow, look at this amazing thing called Twitter. And what I talked about today on my scope, and I have to reiterate this, and I'd hate to sit here and give more credit to Twitter than it deserves, but it actually does deserve this credit because it's a government-funded invention, okay? The reason Twitter is so dangerous to anybody with a dissenting opinion, like the deep state or the left or whatever we're going to call them, is not necessarily because of its ability to connect us, okay? Because Facebook does that. Other social media avenues do it. The reason that Twitter is the biggest risk to them, it's the volume and speed. Twitter spreads faster than any other form of social media, and the volume grows exponentially. It's why you can go from 3 tweets with a guy in a phone and, oh my gosh, I'm in a shooting, to 1 million tweets in less than an hour. Nothing else on planet Earth can do that collectively. And this is why President Trump has not left Twitter, I believe. I believe that this is why, out of all of the censorship, Facebook is much more Chinese censorship, where it's just like, you're out of here. Like, there's no warning, you're just gone, right? Mm-hmm. But this is why I think Twitter creates these little avenues to send you down or shadow ban. They go through this hassle because I think it's a lot closer to what the government's original vision was for a network of sharing information. But I just wanted to give that to you guys because he was breaking me off that information, and I thought, man, that's relevant because you can see the ties. Like, why does the deep state and all their scumbags love Twitter, right? They're not on Facebook. John Brendan's not on Facebook hanging out, despite a much larger audience. He's not on there posting about how he hates Trump. It's Twitter. They all get indicted or sued or fired and immediately sprint and create a Twitter account. And it's because of that. I think it's because it's a government operation still to this day.
Yeah, that's fascinating information. Absolutely fascinating. And I believe that too. And I can see your point with the information being disseminated so quickly, because when I get wind of a news story, my first source is going to Twitter. And that's why I think that new media is so important. And that's why, Dilley, you're over the target, which is why they got rid of you today. It's true. I'm the least probably controversial. So is Joey. Joey's pretty low controversy too, as far as the original Your Voice America group. And Deanna, your tweets are really pretty mild in comparison to a Dilley tweet. I mean, Dilley's like his own animal. I mean,
I want to really speak my mind, but I don't want to get Laura Loomer.
Right.
I don't want to get Brenden Dilley.
Right.
Scary.
Yeah.
And you never know what they're going to pick and choose. Like Joey, they got you for a tweet that was innocuous also about, and they said it was a racist tweet and it was against racism.
To be honest, I don't even remember which one it was because I've been gotten so many different times. I just know that I was doing okay. They were letting me not be shadow banned. And then the other night, they just hit me with that now nobody can really retweet me. Sometimes the retweet button disappears. Now I'm getting only trolls in the replies again. It's just going back to what it is, which means they're going to censor me any day now and just shut the account down. And that's probably why they went to Dilley. They looked at who Dilley was retweeting. Now we're being looked at. I bet your tweets, because I know Dilley retweets you too, Tracy. You're probably down in numbers now.
Oh, without a doubt.
And they look at everyone else. It's a demonic, sick cult over there, and they just want to censor us all. It's like, and they don't realize we're just going to make a new email address and start. So it's just a stupidity. But they don't want us to have the voice because it's totally anti to what they do. And Dilley reached an audience that was not typical conservative. I reached an audience. I came from R&B radio. I reached an audience that was not exposed to it. So they don't want people that are non-typical doing that message. And when that happens, it's a big problem because what if 3 or 4 people wake up even? I mean, it's usually a lot more than that. But even if you can wake up 3 or 4 more activists, it's a big problem.
Yeah. I agree. One thing I was interested in you guys yesterday during the was it Bill Barr confirmation hearing, and he said something that I really wish the left would pay attention because he inferred it, but he didn't go beyond there. And I knew what he was saying, which was he mentioned because they asked him about social media companies and banning people, and they asked him about the First Amendment. And what his thoughts were. And one of his responses, it was very subtle, was, the First Amendment is there because you can prevent a lot of the other amendments being used, right? Like the inference being, if you've got people in a room arguing or online arguing, a completely safe place, by the way, no one can be violently assaulted through Twitter, right? That prevents that next amendment from kicking in where people feel like, I don't have a voice. All of us don't have a voice. We can't discuss things. Okay, what was the next one in line in the Constitution? What's the next one that we're supposed to use when the government is becoming too oppressive? The inference from him was this is a very important amendment, not just for we all have the right to express ourselves, but it's how you defuse what eventually can become violent uprisings in other countries. This is what our founders had in mind, was arguing. Like as Deanna was mentioned earlier, I want to see dissenting opinions. I'll destroy your dissenting opinion, but I can't argue with it if I'm not able to see it. And I'm not able to learn something, and vice versa, if they're not even letting us get into a room together and discuss it. And not only is it a room, but it's a safe room. It's a legitimate place where no one's at risk of being harmed other than feelings. And I think Thomas Wichter is one of those people that noticed the rationale that the left is using now, and they did it in their TOS, and they're now using the FBI and other law enforcement, is they have now successfully equated my feelings being assaulted with actual physical assault. And that's how they're doing it. They're saying, you assaulted that person verbally, which is the most insane thing I have ever heard in my life, to be able to disagree with somebody and then have it branded as a form of assault that can be chargeable offense. And yet that's where we find ourselves, and that's how they're arguing it. So I'm hopeful, I'm very hopeful for this future attorney general. If there's only a couple things he fixes, sometimes I think we want these people to go in there in their huge knight and shining armor and slay everything. And I don't think that's how it is. I think this is a giant, huge, nasty looking ball. And every attorney general and every person that goes through this Trump administration moves the damn thing just an inch or two. And that's how long it's going to take. And you have to be okay with that. People were pissed at Sessions. Sessions is the guy that got the human trafficking thing in the forefront of the entire public. Sessions drove that train. Sessions defunded all of the governments that were trying to do the sanctuary state stuff. Sessions is the one who dropped the hammer on the border, but then he got removed. And maybe that's all he was going to get, man. It's that little 2 to 3 inch move of the ball. And maybe this next guy, hopefully it goes the antitrust route and the free speech route.
You hit on so many unbelievably awesome points. What I want to hit on, because I know that we have to let you go soon, Brenden. But what I want to hit on next is, I get my news first pretty much from Twitter, and there are new media sources that I count on. There are certain people that I count on, like you, like Ann Vandersteel. Now, there's also disinformation agents that are posed to look like they're MAGA, like they're on our side, but they're not.
Fake MAGAs.
Yeah, so have you noticed that, Deanna?
Of course, yeah, definitely. And it's disgusting because, they're very influential. They have huge followings and people trust them. So they can shape the narrative and get people to distrust the MAGA movement and sow seeds of doubt within it.
Yeah, and I feel like I should be wearing a tinfoil hat when I say that, because you guys know me. I'm like the most skeptical person. I'm also really reactive. When I hear a new story, I have to work it out in my own head, and then then I do the Dilley rule where I wait 36 hours and stuff like. But I never thought I'd be the one to come on here and say, yeah, there are disinformation agents that are posing as MAGA, that are not MAGA, that have these huge people really trust. I see one now that's pushing Tulsi Gabbard for 2020 if we don't get the wall. Like, that's not MAGA. MAGA wouldn't do that. Like, Joey, are there any people that you specifically go to on Twitter for your news information, new media wise?
Really, I look everywhere. I don't go to one specific timeline. I'll look at the trending story, and then I'll look who I know that I trust, because everyone is always going to have a bias naturally. Me, you, everyone has their own specific bias, and I know more or less who I want to know to talk about what. So it's very particular in that way. I even read the fake news stuff. I want to see what they're telling their people. I look at every little angle of the story, and then, because you know what? Not one of the accounts is true. Everything is a little bit wrong. So you have to just take into account everything. And I think it's also important that these people, the fake MAGA, the hard left, I like to pay attention to them, because they're very influential. And if you don't know what they're saying, you can't counter it. You need to be able to counter it with the terms that they're thinking. So a lot of people, they just say, oh, we're going to block that out. We're going to block that out. And then at the end of the day, you have no idea how to counter what they're saying. So I think it's very important to look at all opinions and listen to them. And you have to really then look at what they're doing. It's very obvious as well. It's very obvious.
Yeah, I know, Brenden, we got to let you go. But before we do, I know that you found a way to beat the system. And I want you to be able to tell all your followers, all my followers that are also your followers, where they can find you, where they can find The Dilley Show. Tell us all about it.
Absolutely, yeah. So the first and foremost, for the show tweets, you're going to want to go to @TheDilleyShow on Twitter. I'm going to create that Periscope account probably tonight. It'll be The Dilley Show, same thing. And then you can also find my actual, fun tweets at Real Hub Life, just at Real Hub Life. Now, what I figured out is that you can edit Periscopes. A lot of people don't know this. You can go in and edit the title of your Periscope after the fact. They just added this feature. You can also use hashtags. So, for example, if they keep deleting our Twitter accounts and keep deleting our Periscope accounts, simple solution. Hashtag the Dilley Show will be what I'm using, and it's what I've got on all my previous scopes that I just went back and edited, and I'll be doing that going forward. So in the worst case scenario, you go onto Periscope, you go under broadcasts, you search hashtag the Dilley Show, it'll pull up the most recent scope that had the hashtag the Dilley Show in it. So whether it's the Better View or Steel Truth or any of your guys' personal scopes, if you've got your own designated hashtag that people search for within the bar, even if they keep deleting your accounts, they'll be able to find your new content and everything else. And also, honestly, social media, dude, be social. The only reason any of us survive is because we're social with one another. We can support one another. One of us gets deleted. Everybody's pointing at the new accounts, just like you're doing right now, Tracy. So I appreciate you allowing me the time to do that. So thank you.
You're welcome, and you can mail the check for $1,000. Just kidding. You know I love you, Dilley. Will you promise us something? Will you go and give Rihanna a big hug for all of us?
I absolutely will.
Okay.
Yep, I will.
All right, Dilley.
All right, thanks, you guys.
Yes, thanks. Yes, thanks for hanging out. We're going to cut to commercial, and we'll be right back, and we'll wrap this up, and we're going to go into the news of the week. So stay with us. We'll see you in a minute. Welcome back to The Better View. So in our first segment, we had a special appearance by Brenden Dilley, giving us the whole wrap-up about his Twitter drama and where you can find him now on Twitter. He's at Real Hub Life. So just Real Hub Life, you can find him on his new account, because we have to fight conservative censorship on these social media platforms. You know, if there was an enemy that wanted to eliminate all of us today, and I'm sure there are many on the left that do want to do this, they would launch these propaganda campaigns. And I feel like they're taking us off of social media in droves, really, and they're shadow banning us in every way possible so that we can't get our message out for the 2020 election. They are that desperate. I mean, do you think that's true, Joey?
Oh, I definitely do. They do not want us around because they realize now that if social media had not been so influential, Trump would not be president. That's why even I think if he had run in 2012, he wouldn't have been elected, because you have everything going through a filter at that point. You're seeing it through Fox, CNN, NBC, and they're going to filter everything. With social media as prevalent as it has become, and it's only becoming more prevalent, you're just getting unfiltered, raw information from Trump, from a lot of world leaders. I mean, and even a lot of our Congress people. I hate to say it, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is great on Twitter. She has like 2 million followers. Every tweet is doing so, of course, because Twitter's promoting it too. But they have used this tool so well because they've seen how effective it is. Social media, Twitter especially, put Trump in the White House. So what they're going to do is make sure that the major voices are shut down. It's starting with, look, I mean, Alex Jones, gone.
Yes.
Laura Loomer, gone. But then it's people like me who don't really do anything too crazy. Brenden, he's not out there chaining himself to stuff. I mean, it's like really just tweets, thoughts, and they're shutting it down. And then we talk about China censorship. What's really the difference? What's really the difference between their censorship and our censorship? It's only that it's not our government. But how do you know that, you know, I don't want to get too conspiratorial. But how do you know that Twitter is not giving names to the FBI? Hey, they're an extremist. We shut them down, but watch them. You don't know.
Yeah, I've said this. I've had this conversation with friends of mine and I really feel crazy saying this because this is so unlike me. And you guys know I'm not a conspiracy theory person at all. I'm hard news. But if like the Ocasio-Cortezes get their way, socialism takes over, and then we have the elite class and us, and we have full government control over everything, man, I'm on a list. They're going to be knocking at my door and rounding me up. I mean, does that sound crazy, Deanna?
No, it doesn't. It's scary. It's like we're going to be going to the gulags, right? Because that we don't toe the line with what their narrative is and what thoughts they want to feed us. We want to speak the truth, and it's more than just us not believing what they're feeding us, but we want to actually speak in terms of logic and truth, and they won't let us. So it's very scary that they have fully become Orwellian's 1984. You know, they have become thought police. We have to edit our thoughts before we say them now, or before we post them or tweet them. And it's really scary. I really am fearful of what's going to happen in a few years if it's this bad now.
Yeah, you know, go ahead. Oh, continue. I'm sorry.
We just don't have a voice. You know, we don't have a voice. And the worst thing about it is that the left doesn't care. You know, I have some liberal friends, and I say, you know, at least can we agree on this? You know, if you're an American, don't we have freedom of speech? Doesn't it anger you that some people, half of America, are getting censored left and right, and they're willfully ignorant, or they look the other way, they pretend like it doesn't exist, or that we're just conspiracy theorists, and you know, and they won't defend us or have our back. It's disgusting.
Yeah, you know, I got this sent to me from a fan. And I love it. It's a magnet for my car. And I just got a brand new car, which I almost told 2 weeks into getting. So, but it's all like brand new again. It's all fixed and looks all pretty. And I am terrified of putting this in, you know, on my bumper in New York, because it's a new car and it's so pretty. And I'd like to keep it that way. Like, that's so sad that I have to worry about people doing something to my car if I show my support for the president of this great country, the United States.
You will have not one window left in that car, especially in New York. Not one.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
I want a decal on my car too, but I can't. I don't want it to get keyed. I don't want it to get damaged.
it's so true, and it's so sad because we would never do that. Like, I go to a day job every day and I see a bumper sticker that says resist, and I roll my eyes every time I see it. But I would never think of ruining somebody's property over it. But that's a difference between us and them. We're thinking people first. We you know, we're rational. They're just feeling, and if it feels good, do it. It feels good to bash this person's window in because I don't like Trump. Like, so they're all like very animalistic, and they never developed any of their other skills. They're just all very primitive. So I'm going to switch gears for a second because I want to talk about the government shutdown that we're in day 27 of. You know, here we are. We've all lived to tell about it. Wow, gas has never been lower. You know, it's great. I mean,
the world didn't crash.
Yeah, $2.39 for gas in New York is really super low. But, you know, we have a lot of taxes here on gas locally. But, you know, with no end in sight, we have the Democrats refusing to admit that there's a crisis at the southern border, and they're boycotting meetings at the White House to cut a deal in favor of going to Puerto Rico and vacationing and taking in Broadway shows and things like that. So, Joey, what are your thoughts on where we are today with the government shutdown? What's up?
We're nowhere closer to a negotiation than we were the first day of the shutdown. And that's what's unbelievable to me. I mean, you really do have federal workers out of jobs, and the Democrats refuse to care. They just want to shift the blame onto Trump. What other leverage does he have at this point? You're dealing with an enemy that's completely opposed to logic. They don't want any security on that border. They want it large, wide open. Makes sense because they need the votes. The only way they're going to get the votes is if the flow continues. So from their perspective, it makes sense. What I've never seen before is just a blatant disrespect for the office of the presidency. Refusing to show up, now trying to cancel the State of the Union. I mean, come on. This is an anti-American at that point. If you actually have them to the point where they cancel the State of the Union, I think they will lose all power come 2020. I want them to do it because that will be a symbol to the globe that the Democrat obstruction and obsession with protecting illegals and the right to run into this country was more important to them than the institution of America, the presidency, and the State of the Union, which is not just an American event. They show that on TVs across the globe, because at the end of the day, we're the leader of the globe, whether we like it or not.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, that shows what they are once and for all.
Yeah, and they don't respect the office of the presidency because they don't think that Donald Trump is the legitimate president. Like they really don't believe that, and they can't accept it. You know, today we found out that there was an arrest. There was a 26-year-old by the name of Juan Carlos Molina, who is one of the heads of the Honduran caravans, and he was making his way up into the United States. He did get stopped before he got into Mexico at that border, and it turned out that he had skipped out of his country because he raped and impregnated his 11-year-old cousin. You know, as Donald Trump said, they're not sending their best. Plus, now we're finding Muslim prayer rugs and Qurans at the border being hidden in places. So we know it's not just a Central American or Mexican problem coming into this country, but the Democrats refuse to even admit that there's a crisis. And Deanna, what are your thoughts?
I mean, they're not Americans at this point. They're enemy combatants. That's what they are, and they should be charged for reason, right? These are anti-American combatants who want to take the country apart piece by piece, and who only want power and control over the sheeple, right? They do not care about Americans' best interests. They do not care about people potentially raping our families, our daughters, you know, terrorizing people at school. They don't care if we feel safe at our schools or in our own backyards anymore, or walking down the street. They don't care, and they've proven it time and time again. And this is why it's, you know, you have to speak to like the angel families, which I've spoken to before, the angel parents who want nothing more but a wall. They want tighter border security. They understand the crisis at the border because a lot of times, you know, women and children have fled from these countries.
Right.
They know for a fact that these people from the countries they fled from are criminal, are violent, and they have no interest in assimilating in the U.S. when they come here. They have only an interest in hurting the U.S. and in sucking off the system and not bringing any benefit, any value into the U.S. They know these people because they grew up with them. Right. So we know that there's a crisis at the border. And it's appalling to me that anyone can still align with the Democrats at this point, because, you know, it's almost like a sadomasochist. You know, when you see proof over and over again that someone does not care about you and your interest and kicks you, right, and wants to do harm to you, what you're a complete dumbass for continuing to be friends with that person, right? I don't know what it is. It's like Stockholm syndrome or sadomasochism, where people just want to continue to be with the abuser. What is it that keeps Democrats staying and aligning with the Democrat Party? You know, it just kills me. So we need border control. We need to build the wall. And I'm glad that Trump is standing his ground on it. I just hope that we could get somewhere with it.
You're right. They care more about illegal aliens than they do about American citizens. That's for damn sure. And, you know, the Los Angeles Teachers Union has been on strike because their classroom sizes are, booming to 68 kids in a class, which I can't even imagine. If I have 30 kids in a class, that's a lot. It's very difficult to manage. And especially nowadays where, you know, New York State just passed this law that basically these kids can misbehave. And if we suspend them and discipline them, the school can get into trouble for disciplining too many kids. It's absolutely asinine. But my whole point with the LA Teachers Union and the class sizes is it has to be due to this immigration. It's due to DACA. If you built a wall, maybe your class sizes would shrink. I mean, you got to use your brains. But these teacher unions are all Democrat all the time, and I don't understand why. But, you know, we were talking a little bit, you know, Joey was about the State of the Union, and I know that Nancy Pelosi has threatened to uninvite Trump and cancel it, and she wants him to maybe do a written address, which has been done before, but she used this bogus excuse that because of the shutdown, they didn't have the security. The Department of Homeland Security put out a memo that said that is not true, and nobody from Nancy Pelosi's office even contacted anybody in the Homeland Security Department, Secret Service, nothing. This was just completely made up because she doesn't want the optics, and she knows Trump is going to bring those angel families She doesn't want those optics. Plus, she doesn't want the optics of Ruth Bader Ginsburg missing because, I mean, I'm sorry, at this point, I need proof of life that she's alive. I mean, Joe.
Yeah, I know. It's definitely like Weekend at Bernie's at this point. I mean, they're like carrying her up by a string, you know?
Yeah, and I'm one of those conservatives. I don't wish her her ill or harm. I wish her well because, I mean, I believe that all human life is sacred and special, including liberals, as hard as it is to admit that. But, they don't want those optics because if you think that they're going nuts now over the border wall, wait till Ruth. I mean, wait until she either is not here anymore or she retires. I mean, Joey, what do you think?
That will be, you won't need cable. You won't need internet. You just have to walk outside and watch what happens because it will be the end. They know that is the absolute end. And Trump will put in somebody really great. I think it'll be Amy Coney Barrett.
Yeah.
Once that happens, you're going to see their true colors because they hate Catholics. They absolutely hate Catholics, the left.
They hate women.
Yeah.
They hate a lot. They hate pretty much everybody except...
They hate men. They hate women.
Yeah, it'll just be so interesting to see their true colors come out when Amy Barrett, when they throw her up on the stage.
Absolutely.
You will see them ways to hate women.
See, I'll do you one better. I hope that he nominates Janice Rogers Brown because not only is she a conservative woman, she's a Black conservative woman. And the optics, exactly. The optics of Kamala Harris and Cory Booker and all these people that are auditioning for the 2020 election, ripping apart a Black conservative woman. Like, it's just something I need to see. Like, what are they going to say?
I like it.
The saddest part is that to the left, a conservative Black person is less than anyone. They are so racist against conservative Black people. The way they tear apart Candace Owens, the way they tear apart C.J. Pearson, the words that they use, it's like, oh my God. And then they talk about the right is racist. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. All in the name of what? What is the movement even standing for right now? That's the thing.
Negro.
What is their agenda? Their agenda is European socialism, and the Europeans understand a wall. They wish they had a wall. Yeah. Believe me, they wish they had a wall. They're putting walls up everywhere. Hungary has a wall. They are getting strict. Right-wing populism is taking over all of Europe. And then they look at that and they say, yeah, let's become like that. They became like that, and now they're all running to the way that we are right now. Why don't they see it? I don't know.
Yeah. Before we transition into a topic that this is really Deanna's forte, and I know like you're chomping at the bit to talk about this. Do you have any remaining thoughts on the State of the Union or the shutdown or immigration? Any remaining thoughts?
Oh, just build the damn wall. I mean, I've talked to like Omar Navarro, some of these people that are, that their parents literally came as illegal immigrants to the U.S. and they're the most insulted by us not having stronger border security. They're the most upset by it because they worked hard, they worked their butts off, they paid through their butts to get here and be a legal citizen, and they were so proud to become a legal citizen of America. But it completely devalues what it means to be a legal American citizen when you just can walk right in, and then we're shipping in through caravans and buses and busing them through and don't even care when they get here or break the laws.
You're absolutely right. And you guys are just awesome. You guys are carrying me today because I have a cold. So if I sound very masculine, I'm not just in touch with my toxic masculinity. I have a cold. So we're going to transition. Speaking of toxic masculinity, Procter & Gamble and Gillette decided to run razor ads trashing men and toxic masculinity in their new ad campaign. If you have not seen the advertisement, we're going to run it for you here. So here we go.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it? We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
And there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie. Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool. Not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men, forever.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
Okay. All right. So now that you've seen the advertisement that made everybody enraged this week, of the 43 abusive males that they show in this advertisement, I have to just say 42 are white, and 7 of the hero men out of the 8 are black. But it gets even worse, because if you go on the Gillette website in America, you get a pop-up lecturing on abusive male culture. Tiana, I don't even know where to start to unpack this, so I'm just gonna set you free.
Okay, right. I talk about this all the time in my book, Make Love Great Again. I talk about it on my podcast, and I did this huge tweet storm. I thought I was done tweeting yesterday, but I'm so livid and so enraged that I can't stop tweeting about it because I have additional thoughts. So, I don't know where to begin either, but number one, it's the most sexist, stereotypical commercial ever. It's supposed to be a product for men, right? So instead of empowering men or developing healthy masculinity or talking about that, they're shaming and denigrating men and lumping all men into the worst category, right? They're claiming that masculinity is toxic, that it's just bad and wrong just to basically be born a male, that is some sort of social disease to be a male. And of course, it highlights the worst possible kinds of males and tendencies in that, assuming that all males are like this. Men just slaving or drooling after women or about to sexually harass her, beating boys, bullying other boys. Not all boys bully. Not all men rape or sexually harass. Not all men abuse. Right? But they're making it seem like this is just a male tendency and a male thing, and we as males need to do better. I also noticed some interesting things in there. It showed a bunch of men barbecuing. Okay, is that toxic? What's wrong with men barbecuing? I love men barbecuing.
Well, maybe if they put avocado toast, like if they were making that in a soy, like a soy smoothie, it'd be okay.
Right. I mean, men barbecuing. I love it. These are male things that I love. It showed a clip of boys wrestling. All right. And then maybe duking it out and play fighting. And then someone saying, nope, we got to intervene that. There's nothing wrong with boys wrestling and not wanting to grow up to be a wussy. So that's why they fight each other. They got to figure out how to be tough and fight each other. And they'll figure it out later on in life to not fight. But, sharing that those things are wrong. There's also a guy looking at a pretty girl when she crosses the street. And then the black guy says, no, brother, don't do that. Are guys not allowed to look at a girl anymore? Are they not allowed to approach women anymore? I thought that's the whole mating game, where guys approach women that they think are pretty. So it's shaming all these very basic male behaviors and claiming them as toxic when they're not. They're just part of being a masculinity. They're just part of being a boy and a man. And it's disgusting. And my last thing about it, and I could go on, is, you know, where is Venus Razors showing a commercial about women, showing the worst possible women, denigrating them, calling it toxic femininity, and then telling them that they need to do better and work harder in order to be considered good women. I would love to see an ad for that, but I doubt that they're going to create that ad because they know they'll lose a bunch of customers and women will think that that's insulting, right? So why is it always men have to do better? Why is it always males that are toxic? Why aren't we highlighting then women, the other side of the coin? The fact is they won't do it because the narrative they want to continue to perpetuate is that men are bad, men are toxic, and men need to do better while women rise up and become leaders. And men just become wussy, emasculated, disempowered soy boys. Any boy or man who sees this message, who's a true male, is typically offended by it, and they feel like this is just one more thing that makes them feel disempowered in society, makes them feel unneeded and unwanted and unappreciated. It makes them feel like they need to disown their masculinity or be shameful of it, right? And to see such a leader, such an influential leader like Gillette, you know, that most men have grown up with Gillette and shaved their faces with Gillette. To have them jump on this misandric feminist bandwagon feels like such a letdown to most guys. It's almost like their buddy, their lifetime buddy has totally let them down and sold them out, threw them under the bus just for some political points.
Yeah, and
it's disgusting.
It really is. And that part with the boys wrestling and like fooling around, that like bothered me more than anything because I'd rather have like with my girlfriends, you know, maybe like a little wrestling around with our aggression. That's not going to happen. So don't ask for videos. But instead of like what females do with toxic femininity, where they psychologically torture each other.
Yes.
And they give each other like backhanded passive aggressive digs, or they don't invite them to go to a party, or, you know, I much rather have like, you know, let's like pull each other's hair and like get it out of our systems. Yeah.
And then they're friends afterwards.
Exactly.
Guys fight out there, and then they tell each other how they feel. They wrestle, and then they're always buddies afterwards. Women are way more manipulative and psychologically controlling and abusive. Women, there is toxic femininity if we're going to talk about the worst parts of a man and the worst parts of a woman, but we're not highlighting that. I mean, to make it fair, we should be highlighting that, or we can just say, hey, this is part of human nature. Let's appreciate our differences, work with our differences, and not make one gender feel like a complete outcast and sell them under the bus. Right? It's just so demeaning. It's just so disgusting that Gillette, of all places, that has a huge customer base of male, completely let them down and jumped on this bandwagon. I'm sure that a feminist, was in charge of this ad campaign.
You're actually correct. There was a female in charge of it, and she is a feminist, and she is very far left and hates Trump. You know, Trump is not her president. So, I mean, that's what you get when you have these kind of people in charge. And it's like the left lost their damn minds. They're lecturing men in the United States, but they also have a market in Saudi Arabia, and they're not lecturing those men. Don't beat your woman. Let your woman not wear the hijab. Right? Yeah. Like, so it's maddening. Like, oh, you're so woke, Gillette. I mean, Gillette, as the toxic white male, because it really does seem that it's white males in this country are under attack. Do you feel like that?
Yes, absolutely. Every day. You can't do anything. You can't whisper without a problem these days, to be honest with you. Everything is, I mean, that advertisement is so pathetic and so stupid. Number one, just from a marketing perspective, in the world is the target audience. The target audience is men, probably 30 to 50 that use Gillette, because the younger ones all want. But what in the world are you thinking? What man is going to see that ad and say, you know what? I want to go buy a Gillette razor. I definitely feel like a toxic male. Maybe I'll shave toxic masculinity off from you with this razor. Yeah. What in the world was the point of that? It's an ad targeted to very liberal women who don't shave at all. And it's like, it's crazy. And any man that would see that advertisement and want to buy the razor, he's already clean shaven and waxing himself. So it's not going to happen.
Genius. They insult the good men who actually use the products, so they're done with Gillette, right? Well, feminist liberal women don't shave, and soy boys wax and get lasered. So
that's not going to do good.
Product now. That's real genius.
It's not going to do well for them. It's
like
going
committing
to
suicide.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but it's going to perpetuate this idea. And I feel bad, not so much for me, because my generation, we sort of had the tail end of where it was okay to be a man and grow up to be a boy a little bit. What I feel bad for is the kids that are 15, 16, 17. Like, what are they going to become? You look at these guys and they know nothing different. The toughest guy at the 17, they're being told, don't fight, don't rough around. You know what they turn out to be when they don't do that? Dylan Roof and Nicholas Cruz. That's what happens when you don't play around with other guys and or they become wife beaters because they never could play with other men and they have all that aggression. It's sick. It's sick. And it just continues. It got worse. I mean, it was already getting bad. The Kavanaugh moment was like when I said, oh my God, this country's going downhill. And now it's just at the point where I think there's no return really, because the people in charge are the crazies. The people in charge of the marketing departments, they're all liberal. They're all virtue signaling. Now, if somebody was smart, if one of their competitors was smart, they would have an advertisement, a masculine advertisement with Terry Crews or somebody, Trump, a real man. And they would really do an ad. But you're not going to see that. You're not going to see any response from anybody.
I hope that Dollar Shave Club or someone does have a response to this.
I don't know.
It would be cool to see a counter commercial. I think it would be great, like have men in those ugly like dad sneakers with the socks that go like halfway up the lower calf, and they're barbecuing. Because you know your barbecue's good if you see like those sneakers with those socks. You know the barbecue's gonna be great. They should have them barbecuing, roughhouse, and watching football, looking at girls and whistling like a really like alpha male commercial.
We need to boycott them though. We need to do a leftist style boycott. How they get to pull all the ads off of Tucker Carlson and off of Hannity. We need to do a boycott saying if you carry that ad, we're not going to watch you. We need to actually use their tactics, because the minute a Dollar Shave or somebody would do that advertisement, they'd be off of every single program that was advertising with them. If we don't start doing stuff like that, as immature and stupid as it is, that's why we lose the war to these fools.
And I actually have hope in this country, the way that the backlash was so vocal the last couple of days. So I actually do have hope that maybe we're turning the corner. Maybe we're going back to more traditional ways. But Deanna, I'm going to give you the last thought on this topic before we get to thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah, sure. I really call the women, because this is going to be a huge part of women's work. I call the women who are compassionate and rational, good-hearted women who love our boys and men and who appreciate masculinity to step up and speak out about this nonsense. We can't afford to be silenced anymore unless we want no more masculinity in the world. And, you know, we want every last boy to turn into a woman, basically. So we need women to be vocal on social media and vocal in their schools, vocal in their groups of friends, and say, this stuff is wrong. This is misandry. This is male hating, and we need to get rid of it in our society. It is not fair. It's going to lead to a terrible outcome, and we need to actually unite and be stronger than the loudest microphone, which is the left right now, the liberal feminist left. We need to be stronger. We need to be united. If we love our men and boys, our sons, our fathers, it's time now for us to stand up. Men have done so much for us in this world. It's time for us to stand up and protect them and defend them.
That's right. We love you, men. We love you, Joey, you being the white man representing today the toxic masculinity. Enemy number one. So we've come, this show is flying, and boy, I hope you stay for the whole thing because these topics are amazing. And then we come to the part where we give a thumbs up and thumbs down for our week. It could be political, it could be non-political. Mine both happen to be political, and I'll go first. My thumbs up for this week is William Barr's grandson, Liam. If you didn't catch this yesterday in the Attorney General hearings, little Liam was writing his grandfather little encouraging notes. Liam is about 8 or 9 years old. Grandpa, you're doing great. In fact, he wrote a PS and he said, Russia's not the problem. It's government that's the problem. Oh my gosh, Liam, I love you. I feel like you came out of my uterus. My uterus hurt you. My thumbs down goes to the media that definitely lost their damn minds in more ways than one and more than usual, because President Trump catered a dinner for the Clemson football team with these delicious fast foods out of his own pocket because the White House culinary staff was furloughed. Instead of canceling the event, he said, "What do you guys want?" And they said, "Yeah, burgers, fries." And I mean, what's more American than that? And they loved it. 300 hamburgers, they were all gone, completely gone. So, like, liberals, please, you've never had a burger. I challenge people to go out and tail Jim Acosta and get him in pictures eating fast food. And do that with Erin Burnett and everybody else on CNN. So, so Joey, do you have a thumbs up and thumbs down for us?
I do.
Oh,
the
great.
thumbs up we're going to give to this new research about dementia. So the people who did this, they found out that it's like capillaries, leaking brain capillaries that are leading to it. So they're now saying it took them 5 years to figure this out. If you treat the leaky capillaries in the brain, there's medicine you can do, that it will actually slow down and possibly stop dementia, which is, I think it's the worst disease out there because you have a person there, but they're gone. So thumbs up to them for figuring this out. And maybe we can one day get a cure for that. That would be great.
Great news.
And the thumbs down we're talking about toxic femininity. This woman out in Arizona, I don't know if you heard this story. She went on one date with a man off of the dating site Luxy, which is like for richer men. I don't know. I never heard of it.
Well, let me write that down. How do you spell it? No.
Okay. She sent 159,000 texts to him afterwards for the next 10 months after the date because he wouldn't go back out with her.
Holy cow.
And she broke into his house when he was out of the country. And she sat outside his house. There's a whole big story about it. Look it up. It's
one date.
Check that out. That's awesome.
159,000 texts.
Deanna, I think she needs your coaching services.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'll look her up.
Give us your thumbs up and thumbs down.
Yes. Well, my thumbs down would be the Gillette ad. Just very, very disappointing. Obviously, I've been livid about it all week. Thumbs down to that. Thumbs up, I'll just do a quick one. It's been raining here in Redondo Beach, LA, the last few days, and I just love the rain. It doesn't rain a lot in LA, so when it does, I just get really excited, and I love it. So
and it cleans out, it cleans out all the homeless waste and all the needles and
syringes on the floor.
Yeah, Redondo Beach is beautiful. It really is. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh, time flies when you're having fun, everybody. So we're going to wrap up the show today. You can catch it on politidiva.com or on Periscope at Politidiva. You can find me on Twitter at Real Politidiva. There's a whole Politidiva theme here. Joey, where can people find you?
They can go on Twitter and they can find me under the, put it down here. It's J Mondemiletto. It's a weird spelling. It'll be down there because I can't use my name.
I know.
Every iteration of it. So you got to just find me under that.
And Deanna, I want you to plug your book too and tell everybody where they can find you because your book has such great information on what we were talking about today in this last segment.
For sure. Thank you. My book is Making Love Great Again, and you'll hear about all this and how feminism and liberalism has ruined not only America, but our relationships and the family unit and dating. You can find Making Love Great Again on Amazon, get a paperback or a Kindle version. And my YouTube and Twitter is where all the action is, and that is Deanna Lorraine 7.
Excellent. Thank you guys for coming out. Joey, thank you for being a brave toxic male, toxic white male. So, all right, everybody. We'll see you next week. You never know what's in store on The Better View. See you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Love you.